Hello. It's Monday. That's how I feel about today. Um, it is quiet. I'm late. There's nobody here, and I don't know if I should start reading a book while nobody who was listening to it in the past several weeks is here to hear it. So, I don't know. My set is in a state of it'll get worse before it gets better. Uh, Although, arguably, maybe it's not worse. Maybe it's not worse. I don't know. I feel like it's worse because I'm stressed out about it. But it is what it is. We have our gin, which is something. Um, yep. I'm half tempted to just I don't know, play a game or something instead, or at least until the people that have been following are actually here, if that happens. So I'm feeling extremely pessimistic today, and very tired, and daylight saving time is fucking garbage, and I hate it. So just saying. So I I could and or should ramble about whatever's going on back here. We moved some stuff. The sun is huge. Did you know that the sun is huge? Because it's huge. The sun in this poster is like larger than my head. It definitely is in real life, but even in frame, it is. Exciting. So, I don't know. I'm very tempted to just play Cult of the Lamb and kill some things instead. But also, I do want to finish this book sometime this decade. That would be nice. Like, this is where we're at. This little itty bitty bit is what we've read. I mean, to be fair, it's not actually that bad. It's just that the chapters are really long. So that's part of it, for sure. But, yeah. It's also really hot in here because my heat is still on, but it was 10 degrees out today, which is crazy. Because it's like, well, I don't know, March 11th isn't that insane for warmth, I guess. It's just, it hasn't been that way in the last several years. So, it's weird. And I feel like we definitely will get another snowstorm before winter is actually over. But yeah, it's like 6 degrees out right now, and it's hot in here. It's hot in here. Still supposed to be above 0 every day this week, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. Anyway, so those are taking the place of where we're going to put some shelves, finally. I finally went out and bought some shelves today. So that'll be exciting. Probably. I don't know what I'm doing. I have no energy. I have none. None whatsoever. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sort of thinking Cult of the Lamb, but again, I do want to read the book to some degree. And I'm just having feelings about things. So be proud of me. I have exactly one panel down yonder now, and by that I mean on the webpage, which is just a countdown until my next stream. It took me 3 seconds to set up, so I probably should have done it a billion years ago, and I didn't do it. So, but now it's there. Yeah. Anyway. There's a lot of gin in that. I might have fucked up my ratios a little bit on that one. A little bit. Mm-hmm. A little baby bit. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know where we left off. What were we even reading about? Because we weren't here last week, which wasn't ideal. Okay, right. We're talking about space psychology and incidents of space madness is where we left off. And by that there isn't really a lot of that, is the thesis of that section. I don't know. Is it weird to jump into it already? I feel like it's weird to jump into it already, but I could. Also, look at my pretty bees. It's bees. I moved my calendar up there. Up there. I will show you my bees. It's one bee, actually. It's not bees. It's bee singular. But look, bee. It's a bee and an orange. And other oranges. And I got this in like June last year. They finally put it in something. That hopefully will end up on a wall at some point. But for the moment, that's where it's living. But yeah, gonna have some shelves, hopefully soon. But getting them up is going to be a pain in my ass. So there's that. There's that. Oh, and I'm busy tomorrow evening too, so I don't even know. What? We got there. We got there eventually. My lip's kind of fucked up today, so I'm trying to fix it. So, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Book? Cult? Something? I'm tired. Have I actually... I don't know if I've actually looked at the back of this before. Like, without the dust jacket on, because it's got the space dome on the front. But there's like a little... I don't even know. It's like a leaf-covered astronaut, but I don't know what they're standing on. So, hi Banquos. Welcome to the Raz doesn't know what the fuck is going on in her life stream. Yeah. My purple is looking very reddish recently, which is kind of weird that that's what it's washed out to, even though the undertones felt very blue otherwise. But I don't know. Got my hair pretty white before we put it in too, so maybe it's just the dye. That's how it works. I don't know. But yeah, went to IKEA today, which also helps explain why I am very tired. So, you know, I don't know. We could read, because that's what I want to do and what we should do, but also I kind of just want to murder things, so Cult of the Lamb is very tempting in that way. This is one of those things where it was like, I will feel fine as soon as I go live, because I'm just trying to talk myself out of it right now beforehand things. And now that I'm here, I'm like, nope, still tired. Still tired. So I'm in a weird mood today. That's where we're at. I'm also trying to figure out what I want to do this week, because, like, Cult of the Lamb is great. Even 2 out of 3 days, I'm cool with doing that. But I feel like I shouldn't do it all 3 days. Oh, alright, but we have Baldur's Gate on Thursday. That's not even a consideration. What am I talking about? I don't know. Me forgetting a long-standing weekly arrangement? Never! Never. Although, to be fair, I don't know if we're actually doing that this week, because Spud is still out. And I don't know how far into Act 2 we want to get without him. And then Kato is out the week after, so I don't know what we're doing on Thursdays for the next 2 weeks. It might just be Baldur's Gate, and we'll work around it, but I'm not sure. So, we'll see how it goes. We'll see. So, yeah. How are you doing, Banquos? What's up? I don't actually want to, like, not stream at all. That's not my preference. But part of me just wants to go have a nap instead. I'm very worried about how the lights are gonna work when the shelves are up, but we'll see. The spiky shadows are kind of fun. You're helping out the fishes with KSM. Nice. That's very nice of you. It's very nice of you. I would offer to join you, but I don't think I would be much help anyway, so it's fine. I don't know what to do with myself right now. I don't think I have ever been this boring on stream before. That's probably not true, but it feels true at the moment. Because I'm just not doing anything right now. That's the fact, is I'm just not doing anything. So. It's fine. Everything is fine. We're fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, like if jumping into reading feels weird at the best of times, it feels like a really, really hard switch to flip today. But what part sounds bad, Elaine? Also, hi. Honestly, normally I don't even have a problem talking to a wall for 10 minutes before people show up, but today I'm just like, well. Yeah, I don't know. The way I said it's fine. I mean, I'm just in a weird mood. You've missed me rambling and then staring into the distance for 5 seconds between more rambling for several minutes now. So that's all you've missed, because nothing is going on. No thoughts, head empty. Only bad vibes. And yeah, like I don't know if I should be jumping into reading or not. But I probably should, because that's what the stream is supposed to be. So I'm sorry. I'm just a fucking mess tonight. I really have no idea what I'm doing. So still a lot of gin in that. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. There's a question of whether or not I'm just doing something else instead of reading, or if I'm just jumping into reading, even though it's quiet in here, which is fine. It's nobody owes me their presence or anything. So, but yeah, I don't know. I feel weird, like reading. I don't know. It's weird with reading because I feel weird, like not having people who were here for the last one and then reading before they're here kind of. I don't know what I'm fucking doing. So, and I am also not giving you guys any energy to work with right now, so that is not helping. There is no back and forth here because I am not giving. So, yeah. Everything's fine. I can try and summon a kitty. They're both asleep on the couch right now, but like, that probably means at least one of them will get up and hear this. Summoned a boyfriend instead of a cat. Okay. Don't ruin the dust jacket. You're just gonna lurk until reading or something.
Funny.
Yeah. Cats.
Or do I need to eat a treat on stream?
Please don't eat a cat treat. That would be bad.
Will that bump up your numbers?
Maybe. Hey,
10,000
Chet.
channel points. Boyfriend will eat a cat treat.
Oh, there's a Lily. Hi. Meow.
Yes, you.
There you go, Elaine. There's your challenge. 10,000 channel points. Patrick will eat a fucking cat treat. Yeah, come here. Sorry. Yeah, kitty baby. Mom. No, you're supposed to chew it.
I'll come back. Say grab coffee.
Okay. You're supposed to chew it. Last time you didn't chew it, it didn't end well. Well, thank you for summoning Lily. That's a nice addition. I will say. What? No. Everything is not fine. Because I have this, and I finally put it up today. It's the good place. Welcome, everything is fine. And Lily just knocked it over with her butt. Yeah. Lily knocked the everything is fine down. So everything is not fine. We'll find a better place for that. I wish it's Lily's like, I'd rather swallow it whole. Usually she does chew it. But the fact that she took it from my hand, I think, was part of the problem. Rather than, eating it more at her own pace if it was on like, if I just put it down in the bed. But hey, you actually laid down in the box instead of running around all over the desk, so that's nice. Thank you. Baby. I don't know what she's staring at. She's intensely staring at the wall. And I don't know why. Demons. It's probably demons.
Well, I mean, the wall has changed.
I mean, this is true. The wall has changed. And yes, again, the sun is huge. That's all I got. Currently trying to decide if I am reading my book or if I am just playing a game because I have no energy. What do you think? Boyfriend vote.
What takes less energy?
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
Hi, Jester. I do like when people announce themselves with the "Sir, this is a Wendy's." It's good. It's a good one for that. I like it. Also, haven't seen you in a while. What's up? Game is arguably less energy, but they're not that different, I guess. But yeah.
So fancy.
I hate hearing that.
So fancy.
I'm not that mad about it, but I don't think any one of you have ever actually played that before, and it's my voice, and I don't like that.
Okay, Miss Bucket. It's Bouquet. See, anyone in your chat knows that reference.
I don't know. Well, they heard you, so I guess we'll find out. And Jester, yes, you're not. It's not ish. You survived a car crash. Whether it was like a super serious one or not is a different conversation. But I could do a chill game like Stardew or Coral Island or something. You're right. The Discord did not die, Jester. It's fine. Speaking of which, I have people I need to DM. But yeah, I don't want to start another Coral Island file. But the last one we made did like bug out. So, and yes, Jester, Tiger did message me the other day. Tiger is one of the people that I need to respond to. But I suck ass at, timely responses. So, which to be fair, I told her that and she was like, that's fine, me too. So that's good, I guess. Oh, grumpy baby. It's just the way her tail is. Why are you so grumpy? Her eyes are open, by the way. She's just grumping down there. Grumpin'. So grumpy. And yeah, I'm late today too, and I don't know. The energy is off today. It's really off. So, just as funny part is she told you the same thing. You're like, yep, thumbs up all around. I mean, yeah? I mean, whatever. It's better when people don't respond constantly, because then I don't feel bad about not doing the same. Yeah, Tiger was asking, like, if anyone's still playing and whether or not we're around to do things together. And it's like, technically, yes, but also I haven't signed it in 2 weeks because I didn't have anything to do because I got my legendary and all of the things I wanted to get done this season, and I ran out of shit to do, and therefore I ran out of motivation. So I haven't played in a while. So, I will again. Like, I'm looking forward to season 4, but it's not here yet. Do we actually have a date for season 4 yet? I don't know if we have a date for season 4 yet. For the record. I don't know if you care.
So regarding that reference that I made earlier, even I have it cross-wired.
Oh!
it's apparently I'm mixing up 2 different British sitcoms. I'm thinking in my head, Are You Being Served, which is a British sitcom that takes place in a department store, and I want to say that there is a character who at least crosses over from the other sitcom named Mrs. Bucket. And
right.
she is from a sitcom called Keeping Up Appearances. But because she was very hoity-toity, she insisted that her name be pronounced Bouquet.
Mm-hmm, of course. That's fun. But yeah, I don't know any of those references. Yeah, okay, we're expecting April. Okay, I didn't think we had an actual date, so yeah. Kalani made a 0.6 announcement, so probably. Banquo says no about having a date. Yeah, and that's fair. I would prefer not to wait until April to play again, but also, again, I don't really feel like I have anything to do in WoW right now, so... Also, fucking, why is Twitch like this? I know that there's 3 of you here, and it says that there's 2 of you. Once again, really annoying. Not that important. Still annoying. Still annoying. So, yeah. I hope we could get the shelves up this week. For anyone who wasn't here when I was blathering half-assedly about it, those are stand-ins for shelves, because we were visualizing things. So, Jester Tiger wants you to find more ladies, and you're like, is this as easy as the Discord makes it look? I mean, in what context, though, is the question. But yes, I mean, like, Sid and Bunker were like, chill out, stop finding people for a while, too. So I don't know where we're at with that, but yeah. For keys, okay. And yeah, like, I don't know. It really depends on what kind of people you're willing to play with, too, so yeah. But high keys, and that's even more difficult. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, a lot of us have gotten into much higher content than they thought that they were going to, or be interested in, even. Like, even me, I got to the point where doing 20s of all of the dungeons was my goal, and we did that, although that was honestly a lot due to Banquos, so thank you for that. But, yeah, like, I think the seasons are long enough that if you have the motivation to get there, you will get there. It's just, yeah, it's a matter of time and effort. But yeah, finding people to do stuff with is kind of important, so. I feel like that, the art, the bee looks super warped on my camera, and I don't know if it actually is, or if it's just the angle / reflection, but it's weird. High keys with friends versus high keys with total strangers. Yeah.
I think what it is, it's Lily's reflection in the frame.
It is Lily's reflection. You're correct.
Yeah.
That is what it is. That's what's messing with it. And I mean, it's a bit the angle too, just because like there's more space above the bee in reality, but you can't see it because the camera's like above a bit. But anyway, but yeah, high keys with like maximum 1 or 2 strangers is fine. If the whole group is strangers, that's no fun. That's bad news. That's bad times. Which isn't to say that the strangers are necessarily a problem, but, you know, voice chat and communication and whatever is very helpful in things like that. So, yeah. I still don't know what the fuck I want to do right now, which is annoying because it's very clearly stated what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm just not necessarily vibing with it. So, who wants me to read the book?
Read the book, Robin.
What the fuck is that one sisterhood game, Chester? The hell does that mean?
The Sisterhood of the Traveling Game.
Boo! What was I thinking of the other day? I was like riffing on Sisterhood of the Traveling something the other day in my head, but I don't think I said it out loud, which means that nobody can help me with this one. So, that's my bad. Cosmic Wheel of Sisterhood. I have not heard of it. I don't know what that is. Do I need to open Steam? I suppose we could like technically do like a productivity stream too, but also I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So maybe not. Okay, well, I mean, I can just, if you're just gonna like, yeah, there you go. I found it on Steam. It's not that hard. Very positive reviews. Immerse yourself in an enchanting narrative experience as Fortuna, a fortune teller witch condemned to exile on her asteroid home. Craft your own tarot deck, regain your freedom, and shape the fate of cosmic witch society. Cool. I mean, I still... you shared it with Mother Goth and Curiosity and Jelly and they shit themselves. Okay. M-rated cozy game. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it seems interesting. Oh yeah, it's on Curious's wish list now. Of course I have a friend, a very specific kind of friend already has this game, and of course he does. He's big into like the visual novel type stuff. I mean, that sounds interesting. I've been trying to not like I've been trying to talk myself out of buying new games right now. Especially since I went to IKEA today and my wallet cries. But you know, that I should here. I will.
At least it has a demo.
That's true, it does have a demo. It does. Yes, I could just do the demo. So, and like you're trying to finish your Horizon Zero Dawn replay so you can get and play Forbidden West. Yeah. And like I feel stupid because I literally just installed it or uninstalled it last week because my hard drive is not okay. Like it's fine, but the amount of space on it is not okay. Watch the YouTube trailers. I mean, there's the trailer there too. Like, I don't think that I wouldn't like it. I think that I would. I just don't want to buy new stuff. But yes, Jester, thanks for dropping in. See you later. Buzz buzz. Why are you buzzing? Oh. Okay, cool. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I guess I should just... I don't know. What am I doing? But yes, I've added a bunch of things to my wish list lately, which is dangerous. It's dangerous. Especially because that means I get emails about it now. So... part of me wants to just be a jackass and be like, what about building shelves though?
Not out of the question.
Yeah, fair.
Give them some behind the scenes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of what a productivity stream would be too, in that like Photoshop, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Yeah. I'm at the point where like, you know, the SpongeBob meme where he's trying to like write an essay or whatever and he spends an entire night and all he has is a fancy the word the. That's how I feel every time I open Photoshop and try to work on my Twitch stuff right now. That's where I'm at with it. That's not great. So but yeah, it's I don't even remember what the DLC for HCD is. It's like Frozen Wastes or something like that. And I have it. But I don't remember what it's called, but I haven't played it, and I don't know. Complete edition. I don't want to install it. I want to go to the store page. Tell me. Frozen something. Yeah, I knew it was Frozen something, but internet things tell me stuff. Frozen Wilds. Okay. I think that might have been what I said. Because it seemed kind of small. I think it is kind of small. And like it doesn't really matter. I don't think if I don't do that before I play Forbidden West, but I did tell myself I was gonna go back and play it, and then I never did, so I don't know. I feel like jumping back into Horizon Zero Dawn at like endgame content right now would be kind of weird. Cause like it probably, I don't know how much it would take for me to pick it back up again, but like the learning curve was very steep at the start, and I don't know if I want to do that again. This game, Horizon Zero Dawn, is tagged as inclusive character customization, which seems like a stretch to me. That feels like a stretch to me. Like, you could put her in different clothes, sure, but, I don't know about that. Whatever. I should probably at least just try to finish the chapter that we started last week. That's probably... Hi, Nate. How's it going? You're here to bring chaos? Good. Because I don't know what the fuck I'm bringing today, but it's not that.
I'm not sure if Chaos is more of like a Pokemon name or a Sonic name.
I can't tell you. You're more of an expert on both of those things than me, so. But a Pokemon named Chaos would amuse me. That would be very funny. I feel like Nintendo would never do that on purpose, but like just stumble into that and then, you know, cause written down, it doesn't necessarily just look like a portmanteau of K and Chaos, but in all caps, Nate says, bro, my Spotify Discover Weekly had 3 Sonic soundtrack songs on it. I don't know what's going on.
That checks out.
I have no answers for you, friend. I got nothing, but what the fuck?
I think Chaos would be a fairy dark type.
Sure. Do we need to draw a Pokemon, a fairy dark type named Chaos?
Maybe that's tonight's stream.
I don't know. I don't think I have.
It's just like Grimmsnarl, but with rainbow hair, and it's got like its sides shaved off.
I don't fucking know what Grimmsnarl looks like. I feel like I should. Oh no, I didn't know this one. No, this one's beyond me. What the fuck is that?
It's a gremlin demon made out of hair.
And so, in this one, it has tits, kind of. Or at least a boob window. Man, Pokemon fan art is fucking weird sometimes. I don't
think that one's done by Arval. It's not Arval.
I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of creepy, though. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but a little bit creepy.
I mean, that's kind of his point.
Jaw-dropping Grimmsnarl artwork, or whatever. Or Fairy Ghost. It's grim and it snarls. It's pretty self-explanatory. Gee, thanks, Nate. And because every time you tried to come back to it, you have to restart it. Are you talking Horizon Zero Dawn or something else? Did that go straight over my head? I don't even... Sorry. But yeah, it's extremely helpful, Nate. Super, super helpful. There is a part of me that's like, just put Zyla's fucking stream on my channel and just like live react or something. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay? Yeah, weird noises and distress is today's theme. I'm blaming daylight saving. I don't really think that that's the actual cause, but that's what I'm going with. It's my story and I'm sticking to it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Space madness? I don't know. Like, I should start reading. I'm just like, but I don't wanna. What is wrong with me today?
It's been a long day.
It has been a long day. But that doesn't answer the question. You have to go back to editing? Well, fine. But yeah, yes, thank you for choosing me for your background noise needs. I don't know what I was trying to say there, but something came out of my face and it's good enough, I guess. But thanks. Or even if it's just background, I would say background visuals, but I guess whatever. You know what? I'm gonna stop attempting to make that sentence work. We're done. That one. Read me an editing time story. Okay, fine. Bengo's also Chaos already has a name. It's called Tinkaton. This is a good point.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is a good point. Fine. Nate, if you're gonna give me a reason to be even vaguely decisive about what the fuck I'm doing today, fine. Stories. Although it's actually not. It's kind of a story. There are stories within this book, but it is nonfiction, so there's that. But yeah. And again, there is too much gin in this. But yeah, I do like the poster. Like, the vibes of this are good. And I don't know how it'll look when those are shelves instead of foam, but, you know, probably good.
The foam given spikes right now, it's very, like, 80s sci-fi.
It is. There's some vaporwavy shit going on with the spikes. The spike shadows. Oh, that was you. To see your knees, because for some reason I thought it was Lily for a second. I was deeply confused. But yeah. Somebody get Elaine in here. Not Elaine. You're here. Esme, because Esme has a lot of things to say about this book. So, whatever. We'll see how this goes. I'm going to jump into, so yeah, we are in the middle of Spacefarer Psychology. That's the chapter that we didn't finish last time. I was going to say last week, but it wasn't last week. It was 2 weeks ago. But yes, so the subheading, the section we're in is Incidents of Space Madness, ... are hard to come by. So, yeah. That footnote is from earlier up in the page, which means I probably read it already. Oh, hey, look, we're talking. Oh, right. I think you just straight up read me this section when you were reading it. So, anyway, Incidents of Space Madness are hard to come by. Look, this is a pop science book. We're doing our best to keep the particulars of in-space psychiatry interesting. We would love to tell you that one time Chris Hadfield went mad and attacked colleagues with a razor-sharp fragment of astronaut ice cream, or that one time Sally Ride tried to commandeer the space shuttle and drive like hell for Jupiter. No such luck. Spacefarers have had plenty of issues on the ground, but space has been surprisingly mellow. We searched, and as far as we can tell, the space madness stories that get repeated tend to be either wild exaggerations or just straight up wrong. To give one example, there's a supposed quote from cosmonaut Valery Ryumin. By the way, now you get to be here for me butchering every single Russian name in this book.
I mean, I could hear you from the other room anyway.
Don't worry, I already heard you butchering all the Russian names in this one.
Not that I do anything.
I mean, fair. I don't know what it is. I just, like, so many languages I'm fine at pronunciation, but, like, Slavic languages, I just...
Is it more or less offensive if you attempt it in a Russian accent?
I think it's just deeply unsuccessful either way. I don't think I can do I don't think I can do a Russian accent that's recognizably Russian. Like, I don't think that I can.
Nope, that one was Czechoslovakian.
Or something like that. Like, I tried to do Scottish once and it, like, got vaguely Russian at one point, but not on purpose, so Oh, baby. Hi. Oh, that looked like... I was worried to get too close to you. It looked like you were about to sneeze in my face. Oh, grumpy baby. So sleepy. She has to be nice to me. I gave her sour cream earlier. Baby. Baby. Okay. Go back to sleep. Oh, so cute. Anyway. But yeah, sorry about all the name butchering. But anyway. There's a supposed quote from cosmonaut Valerie Ryman shared endlessly on social media that goes, "All the conditions necessary for murder are met if you shut two men in a cabin measuring 18 feet by 20 and leave them together for 2 months." This sounds pretty bleak. The problem is that those aren't really Ryman's words. He was quoting from literature. Here's the full statement he made. O. Henry wrote in one of his... O. Henry, two separate parts of a name, wrote in one of his stories that if you want to encourage the craft of murder, all you have to do is lock up 2 men for 2 months in an 18 by 20 foot room. Naturally, this now sounds humorous. Confidentially, a long stay, even with a pleasant person, is a test in itself. Wow, I don't know why my brain short-circuited on that sentence. Substantially less terrifying. And in fact, Ryman was a model cosmonaut, receiving a variety of awards and promotions over a long career. And as far as we know, he never murdered anyone. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where this footnote is from. Did I miss what that connects to? I don't know. Whatever. Memoirs and oral histories do reveal issues here and there. John Blaha, who spent 4 months as a guest on Mir, experienced moderate depression. Dr. Jerry Lininger had a sudden terrifying sensation of rapidly falling while performing a spacewalk, but he pushed through. Perhaps the scariest story is that of Dr. Taylor Wang, a shuttle payload specialist who brought a complex scientific instrument to space only to have it break. Mission Control said he couldn't spend the time to fix it, and after some back and forth, he told them, "Hey, if you guys don't give me a chance to repair my instrument, I'm not going back." Fortunately for Wang, nobody called his bluff because, as he noted, if you try to hang yourself with no gravity, you'll just dangle there and look like an idiot. Okay, that's where the footnote is. The full quote was, "I was relieved because I hadn't really figured out how not to come back if they'd called my bluff. The Asian tradition of honorable suicide, seppuku, would have failed since everything on the shuttle is designed for safety. The knife on board can't even cut the bread. You could put your head in the oven, but it's really just a food warmer. You wouldn't even burn yourself. And if you tried to hang yourself with no gravity, you'll just dangle there and look like an idiot." So, good. In the end, nobody went bonkers. The crew worked together, taking over Wang's other duties so he could fix the machine. It's worth taking a moment to note that these stories are objectively boring in any other setting than space. Something about orbit makes the dullest facts seem like high drama. Aboard the Skylab 4 mission, there was an argument about scheduling, which is sometimes referred to as the Skylab 4 mutiny. Without going into details, it went something like this. The crew felt overscheduled and had a discussion with Mission Control, changed the scheduling protocol, and ended up completing more than the scheduled workload. If this is mutiny, astronauts suck at mutiny. Try to imagine a friend describing the equivalent situation in an office on Earth. It'd be a long story about grumbling with the boss and then compromising on schedule changes. If you were still awake at the end, you'd probably side with the boss. Yet if it happens in orbit, it becomes the stuff of legend. One case, frequently cited in scholarly literature on space psychology, involves a cosmonaut pathologically obsessing over a potential toothache. We managed to track down the reference about this from 1985, and the actual story was of a man who was kind of worried about getting a toothache, had a dream about it, woke up, and thought he really did have a toothache, but then felt fine by the morning. It's hard to see this having serious psychological implications. Meanwhile, another man, cosmonaut Yuri Romanenko, actually had an exposed tooth root in space, and instead of doing pop science authors the courtesy of going mad, he simply toughed it out for the duration of the voyage. How dare he? As we kept checking these space stories, hoping against hope for just one measly instance of space madness with which we could regale our readers, we started to wonder if any dramatic space psychology situations had ever occurred. The answer is a full-throated kinda maybe. Moderate, qualified cases of potential space madness, sort of. In our research covering life in space stations from 1971 to today, we found precisely 2 stories in which a psychological problem may have resulted in a shortened mission. In 1976, cosmonauts Boris Volyanov and Vitaly Zolobov? Fuck, I don't know. Whatever. They were on orbit in Salyut 5. They didn't have a great rapport. This happens from time to time, but in the case of Salyut 5, conditions conspired to make things worse, beginning on day 42. Here is a description of what happened from a 2003 paper by space historian Dr. Asif Siddiqui. As the crew were working, the station's alarm suddenly went off. Simultaneously, all interior lights turned off and several onboard systems simply died. At the time, the station was passing over the night side of the Earth. In the darkness, with the loud shrill of the sound of the siren, the crew were totally confused. Within seconds, however, they first turned off the alarm, only to hear dead silence, i.e., it seemed that all of the station's systems had shut down. Volyanov immediately transmitted an emergency message to ground control. There's been an accident on board. Moments later, as ground control tried to figure out what was up, the cosmonauts drifted out of communication range. The station had lost attitude control and life support. Silently, darkly, it turned above the shadowed Earth. Only over the course of 2 hours were the men able to get the station back to normal, at which point the mission was cut short and the crew came home early. We found various reasons reported for why the mission was cut short. In one telling, there was a bad smell aboard ship, which was concerning enough for the crew to leave. In another, the bad smell was purely psychological, since a later crew went to Salyut 5 and smelled nothing amiss. In more dramatic versions, Zolobov was overwhelmed by interpersonal issues or by the vastness of the cosmos itself and suffered a mental break. We are 100% positive that we would have snapped under these conditions, but given how generally tame space psychology stories turn out to be, we're betting the true story is the least exciting one. The men were grumbling at each other and the ship was having major issues, so the mission got called off early. Our one other example comes from cosmonaut Alexander Levikin, the same guy who said all spacemen masturbate back in the chapter on space babies. His trip to Mir was cut short in 1987. Accounts about what happened differ, even when they all come from Levikin. The agreed upon fact is that heart monitors found Levikin to be experiencing cardiac irregularity. After a battery of medical tests found nothing wrong, the condition reappeared during a spacewalk. At that point, doctors decided to bring him home. According to Levikin, he was surprised and horrified by this decision. He later recalled, "I felt well during the flight. I felt great throughout, but you can't argue with the doctors." However, decades later, Mary Roach interviewed Levikin over a few glasses of whiskey for her book Packing for Mars, and Levikin admitted that the mission was tougher than he'd expected. The work was hard, the station was noisy, and he'd had motion sickness. He ended up depressed and suicidal, making an observation that is apparently common among spacefarers. "I wanted to hang myself." Hi, Esme. Jesus. You did miss the beginning of the stream. Don't worry, it was deeply fucking weird, and I only started reading about 10 minutes ago. By the way, just the fact that boyfriend is here, the fact that you have just a trail of sour cream down here just is very classy.
You didn't have to let them know that.
Yeah, but I wanted to.
I want a divorce.
Also, I was half an hour late. Today's fucking weird, Esme, but hi, welcome here. Thank you for scaring the shit out of me with Lily sound alert. She wasn't here. Elaine made me summon the kitty, and it summoned the kitty and the boyfriend. So there you go. But yeah, space madness, not really a thing. That's what we've learned so far. But yeah, apparently it's a good thing that you can't hang yourself in space. Once again, we can't know exactly what happened. Both Leviathan and his commander, Romanenko, of exposed tooth root fame, apparently had serious friction with mission control, so things were at least not behaviorally ideal. But if we assume the psychiatric worst case, that Leviathan had serious mental health issues, which led to heart issues, which caused him to be evacuated, the good news is that it'd be the only mission to space that ever got cut short entirely due to a psychological reaction to life in space without some major external trigger. Treat for Lily when she wakes up. I mean, I have, that's what the request queue is for, so that I can remember that, even though I won't remember it, it will. Oh, okay. Also, I'm still jokingly offended that you keep using my snacks command for Lily snacks. You spoiled baby. So she's gotten, this is her second treat, and also she got sour cream for dinner because I had pierogies, so at least this one she chewed. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh god. Oh, yum, delicious. Chill out. Go back to sleep. Go back to sleep. Lay down. What you doing? She wants more treats. Yeah. Kisses. There you go. Kiss. Ilili, so was the reason for all the masturbation stories to keep people from asking him about the irregular heart rate? Maybe. Lay down. Go back to sleep. You were being cute. Okay, baby. Go back to sleep. Go back to sleep. She has an eye gooby I should get rid of, but also I don't feel like dealing with it right now. Sleep. I don't know what she wants. Our little Snow White princess. Yes, and your baby. Who's your baby? Who's your baby? Who's your baby? But also, yes, Esme, welcome back to my slowly changing set. We have our Kurz Gazette's The Sun is Huge poster now, which is... What you can currently see is most of the poster. There's a little bit more, just like comparing the rest of the solar system to the sun. But yes, the sun is huge! Yes, it is. And also the text saying the sun is huge is huge. Lily, go to sleep. Don't leave. I'm afraid she's gonna leave. Anyway. We're still on not really, kind of, sort of, a little bit Space Madness. We document these cases mostly to clear up any idea that psychology has so far shown itself to be the major barrier in space activity. At least so far, screening and on-flight countermeasures have been incredibly successful. Nothing like those two incidents has ever occurred on the ISS. And so the last one there was 1987. So yeah. The other available data paints a similarly rosy picture. One analysis of every single reported in-flight health issue in all shuttle flights from April 1981 to January 1998 found a total of 34 events of behavioral signs and symptoms, giving an incidence of about 1 for every 3 person-years of spaceflight. That's amazingly low when you consider that 34 events include things like anxiety and annoyance. We had 34 anxiety and annoyance events just editing this chapter. According to NASA, there have been no reported psychiatric disorders on either the shuttle or the ISS. That is, ISS occupants may have felt depressed, annoyed, or anxious, but never, not once, has the issue risen to the level of diagnosis. Based on all of this, you might be tempted to conclude that at least the very first space settlers should have no major issues. We don't have super long-term data, true, but almost all the data we do have is pretty darn comforting. It's a nice thought. It is. But here's the thing. Astronauts are liars. Okay, treat for Raz now, thank you. Oh yes, I gotta check off the other one too, otherwise I will totally, definitely forget and give Lily another treat. I don't know. I have... Here. Are you gonna... This is very hard. Do you want it? Okay, I'm just warning you that they're extremely chewy before you decide to take it. I have one left after this. I'm almost done the raspberry ring. And the problem right now is that I'm reading. So now you have to wait for me to finish chewing this.
True entertainer. Reads through the chews.
And give me another one so that I finish the raspberry rings? Fine. Honestly, it's about fucking time I finished them, so... What? I guess we can pet the cat while we chew. You don't want it, but you can sniff it. Yeah. Exactly. You want... You're not convinced? I don't want it, but I want to want it. Yeah, there it is. There it is. This is what always happens when people give me treats, then they make me pay for it with squats or vice versa. Yes, now I can work off my treats.
Gotta get some Wii Fit trainer voice clips in there. Good form.
No! Shit!
Almost there.
Shit!
Keep
Hey!
it up.
Get back here! Where are you going? Well, apparently that was 11. Okay. I feel like I've gotten the right amount of squats like 3 times. Sit. Sit. These are so chewy. I've made bad choices tonight. Ugh. Still chewing. Okay. There. That was so much chewing. Hi. Oh, pretty baby. Go back to sleep. Where are you going? What? What? Now it's in your whiskers. There. I have retrieved. You think we found Raz's chew toy, but they're gone now. So now I have to find another bag of gummies that I can leave open on my desk for 2 months. Although actually, that's I do technically have this ancient thing of jelly beans. Ancient, but I shouldn't eat those because they're ancient. Lily, sit down. Where are you going? Jelly bellies. What are you doing? Meh. What's up, Lily butt? No, fuck. Jesus, cat. Well, we almost lost our light box.
And that's another sound clip too.
What?
Jesus, cat.
Yeah. We're gonna have a lot of cat-based sound alerts. We already have a lot of, well, we have 2? We have 2 cat-based sound alerts. She's as bad as Babu tonight. Not quite. But close enough. Well, no, I Want You to Know I Hate You is also cat-related. That is also a cat-related sound alert. So, yeah. At some point I really have to actually test that I live here reward, but we'll find out. Okay. I did fortunately stuff the bookmark back in, so we're not completely screwed. Okay. New subheading! We've made it through one whole section in the last 40 minutes. Not chapter, section. Oh, man. Carrying the Pants Fire, the rich history of space fibbing. Because remember, astronauts are liars. When Eileen Collins, later the first female space pilot, went for her NASA psych interview, she became concerned. Having filled out an innocent-seeming psychological questionnaire, she was looking forward to her hour with the psychologist. That was before he told her she'd gotten a number of questions wrong. "Tell me about your hallucinations," he said. When Collins expressed confusion, he told her that for the question, "When I walk down the street, I see things other people don't see," she'd written, "True." Surprised, she tried to clarify. "When I'm with my husband, for example, I'll notice flowers, landscaping, and people's clothing, while he has no clue they're there. He looks at other things." The psychiatrist replied, "Well, that question is designed to find out if you hallucinate." Pay attention to how she responded. Not, "There's been some confusion here." Not, This is a bizarre definition of a hallucination. What she said was this: Sir, with all due respect, someone who wants to be an astronaut is not going to confess to unusual mental issues. She's right. Indeed, Collins was participating in what she no doubt knew was a grand tradition that spanned generations and continents. Valentino Ponomareva, backup pilot to the first woman who ever went to space way back in 1963, said in an interview many years later that the women in the program had cheated on their medical exams. As she said, the male cosmonauts of the first group treated us very well. They cared about us, they helped us, they taught us how to deceive physicians and how to pass tests easier. Michael Collins, moon chauffeur to Armstrong and Aldrin, kept the secret that he got claustrophobic in spacesuits, which he called nasty little coffins, even though he had to conduct spacewalks during missions. Nor have the years diminished the tradition. Terry Virts, in his 2020 memoir, recalls pretending to be happy whenever talking to psychiatric counselors, regardless of his personal life or private emotional state. Just reading through memoirs of astronauts and astronaut candidates who were willing to confess the truth, we found lies, and lies of omission, told to medical staff about colorblindness, height, chest pains, back pain, a suspected heart attack, suspected bone cancer, a severe inner ear problem that resulted in disorientation and dizziness, one's entire childhood, whether or not one had vomited in one's own gloves during a test pilot training, whether one had vomited upon docking with Skylab, and in at least one case, a man physically removed pages from his own medical records to hide information from flight surgeons. A footnote is, we hasten to note that the list is made somewhat longer by repeat offenders. That's a lot. Why do astronauts and pilots lie to the medical professionals tasked with keeping them healthy? A simple bit of game theory. If you're allowed to fly when you walk into the doctor's office, you can only come out still allowed to fly or grounded. There are no benefits for truth-telling about anything negative. Doctors and psychiatrists know this game, and because of it, a natural antagonism exists between flyers and medical people. And a very long footnote to that is, in fairness to the Astro duplicitous, our research turned up only one case where lies negatively impacted a mission. In 1985, Commander Vladimir Vasyutin, Jesus, had to return early from Salyut 7 because of an apparent acute inflammatory disease. There are good reasons to believe he knew about this problem prior to flight but kept it a secret. More interesting for those of us concerned with cosmo-mendacity was the reaction of a fellow cosmonaut, Yekaterina Ivanova, whose flight was cancelled by Vasyutin's early return. She was furious, not because Vasyutin had lied about his fitness for flight, but because he broke the unspoken code of aviators and spacefarers. One fundamental rule: if you're asked how you feel, you cheerfully answer fine, even if you can barely stand on your feet. But Vasyutin didn't cope, and because of all of this, I was once again grounded. That is, lying to medical staff is fine. What's forbidden is to stop lying. Bart Hendricks, Illness in Orbit, Spaceflight 57, 2011. Good quote. Also, that sucks for her. That's pretty unfair. Where was that? Okay, yes. Antagonism between flyers and medical people. Or, as veteran astronaut/physician Joe Kerwin reportedly told NASA psychologist Al Holland, "Son, you gotta understand. The crews won't be happy until the last psychologist has been strangled on the entrails of the last flight surgeon." It is simply impossible to read the personal accounts of astronauts and trust self-reported data. Mike Mullane, who removed medical pages from his file and also lied about his childhood, wrote, "We would have lied about a wooden leg or a glass eye. You find it would have been our attitude. Glass eyes are hard to lie about. Psychological state is not, especially for elite professionals with careers on the line. If you are planning a space settlement and basing your ideas of astronaut psychology on reports of actual astronauts, you are making a terrible mistake." Also, Dupes, thank you very much for the follow. More booze. I do think that that's a better space for my calendar. I liked it back there, but I like it there. Anyway. Looking elsewhere. So here's our problem. We want to stick at least a few thousand people somewhere in space, and ideally quite a few more. We don't have long-term data, and the data we do have comes from the professional class of liars known as astronauts. Is there an alternative? Kind of. Researchers look at what are called analogs and sims to try and get space insights while remaining on the ground. Analogs. Many researchers believe the best place to look is situations on Earth that are similar to space. Indeed, there are entire books on the topic of space analogs, and they tend to focus in particular on Antarctica and submarines, both places where humans live for extended periods confined in built structures with harsh conditions outside. The basic findings from these settings are broadly reassuring. The internet has plenty of questionable stories about stabbings over chess matches in our Antarctic bases, but at the statistical level, things are pretty okay. People at Antarctic research stations do get depressed and have the kinds of psychological struggles you'd expect from being stuck inside with a small group of people in a cold environment where the sun doesn't shine. But these problems rarely rise to the level of a clinical diagnosis, and sometimes studies even find people at research stations have better average psychological outcomes than the general population back home. This is partly due to pre-screening with psych exams and partly due to countermeasures similar to ones used in space. It's also likely due to self-selection. People aren't chosen at random to go to the South Pole, and those who decide to go may be looking forward to eating canned food for several months of perpetual night. Doves make me do squats. Sounds like living with your mom. Jesus, Esme. I mean, fair, but Jesus. Sorry. Crashed directly into a knee there. All right. Needed more room. See, I already lost count. I'm already gone. Think that might have been 11 again. Butt power, yeah. Power butt. I kicked the chair off the rolly mat thingy, Bob, but it was hard to get back. Okay, that was 10. Yay! I did it. Not on purpose. Not because I kept track, but I did it. Oh, man. Dubes, you got a few points. Good? Maybe? Hopefully? Spare me? Esme, here's a thought. Put LED lights on the outside of the poster frame. Oh, that sounds like so much work, though. Yeah, I agree that it would look very cool. And honestly, it's probably not that much work. I'll think about it. That would be another trip to Amazon or something. Do I need to put a strip of LED tape on my throne wish list? Okay, where was I? People are actually looking forward to canned food in several months of perpetual night. Maybe. Can't imagine, but... In the case of submarines, we find similar results. The available data is limited, but studies report low rates of psychological disturbance, and in some cases even lower rates of psychological disturbance compared to the population they come from. Again, this is likely down to self-selection, screening, and countermeasures. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Y'all can't stack the squats. You gotta make me get comfy again and then do more. Rude. I made the spacing is weird here. I'm kind of crammed in. You can't do 2 times 10, so for 10 minutes, so you had to settle. I know. There's a reason for that. Don't worry, it'll be there again in 10 minutes. Thank you for counting for me, Esme. I appreciate it. Because again, God knows I can't do it. I always want to read like this, but then like this is a weird angle. So, now I'm not like breathing heavily, but enough that like reading a full sentence is hard. Without being like anyway. We would happily tell you more about these settings, and frankly, we did a lot of reading about them that was objectively interesting. Top-line findings. Submarines are surprisingly gross, and Antarcticans have a surprising amount of sex and sometimes run around outside naked. In terms of applying this data to space settlements, where running around outside naked will be less attractive and more asphyxiating, the basic picture is a good one. Like in space, self-selected pre-screened pros typically do fine. What? What? Come here. Welcome back. No. No. Sit. Sit. We are gonna have to get a put your bomb in the box sound alert at this rate. Running around naked outside in Antarctica sounds dangerous. It sure does! It sure does. Hi. Oh, chin scratches. Yeah, you good time. You good stuff. Lay down. Go to sleep, stinky baby. Why do you have to throw yourself against my pictures, Kat? Why? Sulk on her face. What? What? Whatever, man. So depressed and forlorn. That face. Anyway, self-selected pre-screen pros typically do fine. However, this data isn't perfectly applicable because both analogs are too small in population and too short-term. There are no permanent Antarcticans and certainly no permanent submariners. There's a world of difference between needing to deal with harsh conditions for a specific limited time and needing to stay forever and raise children. Sims. The one other data source that might help us guess about space settlement behavioral health is what are called simulations or sims. Basically, you stick people in a controlled setting that is space-like in some way and you observe them. For instance, people may live in a desert trying to survive on only what's inside the base, only going outside wearing simulated spacesuits, all while monitoring their psychological state. Also, I have to check these squats off so I don't accidentally mess them up. As I says, by the way, you think jump the F up could be reduced by maybe half the points? I mean, yeah, that's fair. 1,000 points is just the default. But, like, I think we only use it in specific enough situations that that's probably a valid note. Oh, that's a different website. I'm just gonna do it now because I there is literally no chance of me remembering if I don't, so yeah. Yes, log in with Twitch, blah 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 blah. But yes, that is a fair request, and I shall grant it. There you go. It should be changed. Might need a refresh. Cause yeah, like it's very situational, so that's fair. Sulk. Anyway. Grassy ass? What? Oh, gracias. Took me a minute, but I got there. Sorry. Anyway. These settings regularly feature in media reports, and there are documentaries and books about them. We have friends who participate in them. However, we are skeptical of how applicable Sims are to space activity, beyond solving small ergonomic matters. We're not alone in this. Some scholars believe the simple fact that Sims carry no risk of death makes them useless for analyzing actual space psychology. How accurately can you simulate life on Mars if all of the subjects know they can leave at a moment's notice and go to McDonald's? Also, with only a few exceptions, most Sims run for weeks or maybe months, but not the years necessary to really understand the psychological toll of living with a small number of people in an isolated and confined environment for a long time. The other thing is that, to be honest, some of this data is collected in scientifically questionable ways. For instance, in researching Mars 500, the most involved space sim ever conducted, lasting 520 days with a crew of 6, we found a major paper co-authored by someone who was also a participant. This is a major scientific no-no because the subject of the experiment knows in advance that the most interesting findings would be. Even if we give them the benefit of the doubt that they're trying to make honest observations, it's hard to believe the results weren't biased in some way. At the intersection of ignorances. So our alternate data sources aren't great. We don't have very long-term data, and astronauts are liars. Where does this leave us? The one good thing we can say at the end of a mountain of research is that although the data are mediocre, they at least all point in the same direction. Pre-screened professionals in harsh environments, including space, don't seem to have any special mental health problems. Unless there's something lurking beyond the 1.3-year barrier, we should assume space settlement and psychology will not be wildly different from anywhere on Earth. That said, acute psychiatric episodes in space, while not necessarily more common, might be substantially more dangerous. dealing with major psychiatric issues in space. Although missions have occasionally been cut short, there's never been a need for an emergency evacuation in space due to a psychological issue. However, it could be done on relatively short notice if needed. This is what happens on Antarctica and in submarines. If someone has a medical or behavioral emergency, the typical solution is an airlift to somewhere they can get proper professional care. But what if the person is a risk to themselves or others now when evacuation isn't an option? Well, we can tell you what they do on the ISS, thanks to the International Space Station Integrated Medical Group Medical Checklist, which includes a section on dealing with acute psychosis. Instructions: unstow the drug sub-pack, the gray tape, the bungees, and towels. Talk to the patient so they know you're using a restraint to ensure that he is safe. Tie wrists and ankles with tape, reserving the bungee for the torso. If the head needs to be restrained, stick a towel below the neck and use some more tape. The patient is now offered tranquilizers and sedatives orally, but if they refuse, then the drugs will be given through intramuscular injection. The medical officer is instructed to remain with the patient, carefully monitoring and recording vital signs. A similar protocol is advised in case of suicidal behavior. Fun! Nothing like this has ever been done in space. If it happened on the ISS, conceivably you could keep the person sedated for the duration of emergency trip home, and perhaps the moon is close enough that an emergency trip to Earth within a few days wouldn't be out of the question. For a settlement on distant Mars, you'll need ways to deal with psychological emergencies locally. This suggests that pretty early on in the settlement process, you'll want to be sure you have psychiatric care, medicine, and for the particular case of people who've become dangerous to themselves, you may need some way to safely confine them until the problem has been solved or they can be moved back to Earth. This will not be a trivial problem. Thanks to the unforgiving nature of orbital mechanics, in the worst-case scenario, confinement would be over a year, followed by a launch to orbit and a 6-month transit to Earth. This is something that could be handled in a large enough settlement that includes specialists and appropriate facilities. If it happens in a 100-person outpost, you've got a real problem. There you go. Squat cooldown's over, so guess what time it is? Doobs!
How many are you doing?
Huh?
How many are you doing?
10. Oh, we're dragging boyfriend in on the squats.
Yes, getting a twofer.
Cause yeah, this will be 35 squats total so far. You're faster than me. Oh, I'm gonna be real wobbly going down the stairs tomorrow. You doing extra?
That was 10.
Oh, well, I can't count for shit. I don't know what you want from me.
yeah, put on some polka music when you do the squats.
Find me a track that won't get me copyright dinged and let's go.
Now you presented me with a challenge.
Yeah. A challenge has been issued. Esme, you had too many tabs open and couldn't find a stream, so you couldn't count. That's okay. Boyfriend counted this time, I think. Either way, that's fair. The too many tabs problem. Who among us? Anyway. Psychology and space settlements. The big picture with space psychology is that so far things have been good, but we shouldn't expect perfection. We think it's likely psychology isn't as big a barrier to settlement as, for instance, reproduction. If you just go by movies and novels, you might get the impression that humans in isolation wig out pretty fast. In reality, the history of polar exploration furnishes plenty of examples where crew have been trapped in desolate places with dwindling food supplies and have been reasonably psychologically steady, at times even genteel. Too much heavy breathing! That said, the lack of long-term data on cognitive effects is worrisome. In terms of our wait-and-go-big approach, that would be a big reason to wait. We'd like to see much longer-term data that either rules out cognitive effects or tells us how to mitigate them. Given how isolated and dangerous a Mars settlement would be, any kind of slowly progressing mental health deterioration could turn into a nightmare. The combination of day-to-day needs and the risk of occasional acute problems means that any settlement needs a support plan for the entire range of psychiatric possibilities. That's easy to say, but it's a huge constraint. In a world where people are permanently living off-world and raising children, there's got to be a way to take care of mental well-being locally. That's not just about people in buildings, it's also about medicine. It's going to be a long time before the entire psychological pharmacopoeia can be produced anywhere but Earth, and modern drugs aren't designed to be shelf-stable for years while also being exposed to space radiation. All of this is much easier if we wait until the science and technology are in place to send big facilities and large populations while also having some regular means of allowing people to go back to Earth. For our space settler Astrid and her kids, we'll assume everyone is psychologically well adapted to having the Earth out of view. The whole family is physically and psychologically fantastic, and so the question becomes where to settle. Okay. just Astrid in a big ol' rocket. Alright, so this is a brief interlude, nota bene. Rocketry Goes to the Movies, or Space Capitalism in Days of Yore, Part 1. Hermann Oberth was born in 1894 and died in 1989. He was the only founding father of rocketry who lived long enough to see Armstrong's one small step for man. Oberth was something of a prodigy. As a boy in Romania, before he'd learned any advanced mathematics, he noticed an error in Jules Verne's From the Earth to the Moon. Verne had his spacefarers fired from a 275-meter-long cannon. Young Oberth calculated that this would produce 23,000 times the normal force of gravity, enough to have liquefied the main characters in Chapter 26. This was both precocious intelligence and, for a future rocket scientist, quite a high level of concern for human welfare. As a young man, Oberth wanted to go into the physical sciences, but his physician father insisted he pursue medicine. Oberth obeyed, but was undeterred in his spacefaring interest. As a young medic in World War I, he took drugs to degrade his sense of balance, then sunk himself under bathtub water, breathing through a tube. Why? He wanted to simulate the orientationless world of space to see how a future rocketeer might function. Don't try this at home, but it turns out you can medicate yourself, bathtub scuba dive, and still keep your bearings. In fact, this was probably one of the less dangerous things to do in World War I. Fair. Esme, so there is a cap on how many squats can be done in a stream. I've got it capped at 100 max between both of them. Not 100 per redeem, 100 total. So don't worry, I won't die. But there's still a lot left if you guys feel like torturing me. I suppose I could technically change it on any given day if I'm not feeling up to it too. Like if I'm ever sick, I'll like turn them off. But yeah, don't worry. Trust me, I thought of that. I love you guys, but I don't always trust you. Anyway, one imagines Oberth would have preferred somebody else be the guinea pig in his experiments, but in those early days there was very little money for rocketry. When his father relented, Oberth pursued his space studies in earnest. Without funding, he focused on theory work, using his wife's money to publish several editions of The Rocket into Planetary Space, sparking something of a mania for rockets in Germany. But although he briefly had a chance at venture capital for a rocket project, he was thwarted when a professor insisted Oberth's ideas were not feasible. Without an academic post or funding source, Oberth took up a job as a country village teacher, corresponding with other early space geeks while writing pop science in his spare time. Then, one day in 1928, he got a telegraph from the world-famous movie director Fritz Lang. Lang was working on a space travel film called Frau im Mond, The Woman on the Moon, and wanted it to be technically accurate. Oberth packed his things and headed for UFA Studios in Berlin. Oberth ended up in charge of a sales gimmick wherein he would be tasked with building a 13-meter-tall rocket that would reach the stratosphere as part of the film's premiere. Wow, that is a really ambitious marketing campaign. Appreciate for a moment how absolutely insane this is. I did! Oberth was a theorist who taught physics, not an engineer. It'd be kind of like asking Einstein to build an atom bomb from scratch in a few months and promising him a loft, some helpers, and a little funding. The first step for Oberth was to start messing around with liquid rocket fuels. He was the kind of person who'd take disorienting drugs and go underwater for the sake of science, but if he had known from his vantage point in the late 1920s how many people, including friends of his, would die fiddling with rocket fuel, he would surely not have done what he did next. If you've ever wondered what happens when you take liquid oxygen and pour gasoline on top, we can tell you that in at least this one case, you get exploded across a room, burst an eardrum, and have your left eye damaged. Then, if you're enthusiastic enough about rockets, you get right back to work. With a deadline in 6 weeks and no time to build a wind tunnel, the only way to test his rocket design's aerodynamics was to drop a model of it down a smokestack. According to an account by Oberth's friend and contemporary, Dr. Boris V. Rauschenbach, UFA came up with a brilliant workaround. They took a photo of the falling rocket model, turned it upside down, and sent copies out as promo. It's really funny. Oberth never finished the rocket. In fact, he had a nervous breakdown and headed for home before the premiere. UFA, in proper studio style, made a fortune off the marketing without delivering the goods, and Oberth went back to his country village, fated to play the role of a theorist, while others built the great machines of the early space age. This would be his last brush with space capitalism. Okay. That was a nice little interlude story. We are officially in part 2 of the book, and I sincerely doubt we're going to finish the chapter I'm about to start tonight. Because I don't know how late I'm going, but these chapters are fucking long. So part 2, Spome on the range. Where will humans live off-world? In 1835, the New York newspaper The Sun claimed life on the moon had been glimpsed by Sir John Herschel. And there's a bunch of letters after that. LLD, FRS, and then an apostrophe and a lowercase c. And their footnote is, our best guess here is this means Doctor of Laws, Fellow of the Royal Society, etc. Which, okay. Who, while on an expedition in the Southern Hemisphere, made use of a telescope of vast dimensions and an entirely new principle. Seeing the moon up close, Herschel was astonished to find much better life than we have on Earth. A valley of the unicorns, horned bears, bipedal beavers, a race of humanoid bats soaring above teeming riverbanks. This story was widely circulated, but it turned out to contain some inaccuracies and is now remembered as the 1835 moon hoax. It was neither the first nor the last time otherwise intelligent people were fooled into thinking space would be friendly for the living. A long-running theory that persisted well into the 20th century claimed that Martian surface was lined with canals. I did know that! Okay. There's also probably not on the moon, and then unicorns and bipedal beavers and a naked man with wings. Woo, new chapter, Stargate IT classification. Yeah, it is. But yes, Martian canals is a thing that people believed. Built by aliens husbanding their diminishing water supply. In the days before radio, there were proposals to signal Mars using light, fire, or carving shapes into a forest. Of course, everything's gonna fucking break in my chat as soon as that happens. Hi, Zyla! And thank you very much for the raid and all of your wonderful slimes. Welcome here to the stream of deep confusion, and now my chat window just utterly breaking. There we go. It's back now. Sup, beach? I don't know. What's up with you? But yeah, how was Stardew? How was that going? I'm gonna do a shout out because I remember to do that. Hey Emily, how's it going? Welcome here. Did it work? I did it! Oh yeah. I always love when I shout someone out and chat's like this like, oh, I'm a raider also. Yes, I was lurking in your stream. Thank you for noticing, Twitch. Zyla, you also had people redeem your cat cam reward, but your cats are not cam compatible at the moment, so we chose Lily. Oh, that's nice. And look at this little shrimp. Little shrimp baby. I like how I like pointed my thumb at her and that top eye just cracked open just a little. Like, what you looking at? Am I about to get attention? Mother, please? Yeah, baby. She baby. Yeah, people are just torturing me with squats today. So, but yeah, look, we changed some things, kind of, sort of. The more shit will be changing, but I'm pleased with my The Sun is Huge poster. It's nice. Also, fits the theme today. So, it really just means I need to play more space games. Also, why is the font different in just this little section?
It might be one of the mini stories that they do at the end of a chapter.
Well, right, but I already read one of those,
Okay.
and now it's a different one. But whatever, like it is just 2 pages long, so I guess it is. But whatever, the part that I'm reading right now has different font, and it's weird. But either way, we're talking about Martian canals, which are a thing that people truly believed existed for quite some time. Which, you know, in reality are less canals and more just, yes, there was actual probably flowing water on Mars at one point. So that's still neat. Anyway, in the days before radio, there were proposals to signal Mars using light, fire, or carving shapes into a forest, which seems far-fetched. As late as 1964, one Mars mission proposal called for astronauts to land and investigate life forms for possible nutritional value. But when the Mariner 4 probe holy... I can speak, I swear! But when the Mariner 4 probe arrived in Martian orbit a year later, the truth became apparent. There's no sense carving, "Pardon me, Martians, but what's your nutritional value?" into the local woods because nobody is on the receiving end. The same goes for the moon, for Venus, and as far as we can tell, for everywhere in the solar system except this pale blue dot. Why? Because space is terrible. All of it. Terrible! Even photos and videos taken on the actual surfaces of the moon and Mars can be deceiving. They don't look half bad, sort of like dusty deserts with rolling hills. Not exactly barnacorns and man-bats in Happy Valley, but not entirely uninviting either. To see these images properly, you need to know what they can't show you. The moon isn't just a sort of gray Sahara without air. Its surface is made of jagged, electrically charged microscopic glass and stone which clings to pressure suits and landing vehicles. Nor is Mars just an off-world Death Valley. Its soil is laden with toxic chemicals, and its thin carbonic atmosphere whips up worldwide dust storms that blot out the sun for weeks at a time. And those are the good places to land. Esme, let's eat our Martian friends. Apparently that was the vibe. Venus, with its oven heat, ocean bottom pressure, and sulfuric acid clouds, has been compared unfavorably with hell. Mercury, naked to the nearby sun, has equatorial temperature swings of over 600 degrees Celsius. The farther out planets take years to reach with current technology, and from their vantage, the sun is dim and distant. Some moons of Jupiter or Saturn may harbor life in warm subsurface oceans, but even if those depths are toasty enough to permit life, they're shielded from human eyes by kilometers-thick crusts of ice. The question for a world would-be space settler isn't, where's the good place? It's, where's the survivable place? Options are limited. Space is big, yes, but space settlement sites are few. Until we reach some extravagantly more advanced level of technology, there are only two worlds we can hope to settle, the moon and Mars. Mars has about the same land surface as Earth, but that's only due to the lack of any oceans. The moon, similarly unencumbered, has about as much land area as 1.25 Africas. The only other serious SPOAM possibility would be the construction of a massive space station, a very hard project that nevertheless has prominent advocates and which we'll explore shortly. Consider this a travel brochure on regions above the atmosphere. We'll see the places you might go, what amenities are available, and what your accommodations might be like. And if there's an elevated risk of death, we won't dwell on it. So yeah, okay. I guess this was just the introduction to this part of the book. Also, I didn't really think to stop and explain to our lovely raiders what I'm doing. Which is that I am reading right now A City on Mars, Can We Settle Space? Should We Settle Space? And Have We Really Thought This Through? Which is a nonfiction pop science and humor book written by the Weinersmiths, one of which is the author/artist behind Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal. And it's delightful. But that's what's happening right now. Esme, Io, and Ganymede are likely our best options in our solar system that can be altered with more ease to suit our biological needs. And you're right. The issue is more their distance from the sun in temperature. But I mean, and like the temperature on Mars is also a problem. So I don't know. But yeah, like, if you're going to be dealing with freezing temperatures anyway, then yeah. But yes, there's a reason. Titan, not Io. Yes. Okay. Yeah. No, Io is different. Right. Yes. Yeah. Titan has much more liquid on it. Oh God, that was so graceless, and I got stuck on my own pants. But yes, there's a reason that those feature heavily in any sort of media talking about settling other places in the solar system. So yeah. Okay, so there's a little diagram here that's just like size comparisons, but it's a little hard to suss out if you can't see the details, and you can't with the way my camera's set up, so yeah. Anyway. Chapter 5. The Moon. Great location. Bit of a fixer-upper. Buzz Aldrin once referred to the moon's surface as magnificent desolation. Magnificent can be debated, but desolation is scientifically accurate. If you build a moon settlement, the defining feature of life will be things lacked. The case against the moon. The moon has almost no carbon on its surface. What little carbon can be found has been deposited by solar wind and space object impacts in minute quantities over billions of years. This is a problem because humans just can't get enough of the stuff. We're about 20% carbon by mass. Plants are worse. Trees, for example, have a dry weight consisting of about 50% carbon. Plus, the moon's surface is low in other important stuff like nitrogen and phosphorus. Life as we know it literally cannot construct itself with what the moon offers. At the moment, there are precisely 6 small caches of high concentration carbon on the moon. The Apollo moon landing sites, where the heroes of the space age left behind a grand total of 96 bags of feces, urine, and vomit. Sadly, you are legally forbidden to use those as precious historical artifacts. This made the moon would be more habitable if we created subterranean communities on it. I mean, yes, but they still are making a very good point about, like, resources. But yes, if, and I'm sure that they will get to that. And they kind of have covered it already at different parts in the book. But yeah, basically, if you want any sort of moon settlement to work, you are going to have to dig it out of the surface or build it in a lava tube. So, you're right. But anyway, the footnote about the poo bags on the moon. Those poo bags are of historical value and scientific interest. Under current space law, that poo is a U.S. government property and is protected by NASA's 2011 Recommendations to Spacefaring Entities, How to Protect and Preserve the Historical and Scientific Value of U.S. Government Lunar Artifacts. So if you've ever dreamt of growing lunar vegetable patch and Neil Armstrong's long-lost bowel movements, we're sorry. It's time to move on. Outside of small... deliver us human poo bags on the moon. I mean, they don't need to be delivered. They're already there. You're just not allowed to touch them.
Deliver us human poo bags from the moon.
Yes. Deliver us human poo bags from the moon. That is correct. Bring them home!
Late news starts playing.
I feel like I need to make a terrible shitpost edit of the Martians movie poster.
Making a shit post about bringing home shit bags?
Exactly! A shitty shit post! Because the whole tagline of that movie is bring him home, right? Yeah, anyway. I'm over-explaining the joke, but Esme says do it! No promises, but if I'm bored tomorrow morning, I got you.
Well, chat, that is now your job.
Yeah, you've been given a task, chat. Get to work. But also, I literally have Photoshop open, so probably on me. Esme, you hated that movie. I fucking love it. I also loved the book. I like the book more than I like the movie, but I really liked it. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry. I just liked it, but yeah. I like all of Andy Weir's stuff, actually. Most people don't really like Artemis that much, but I thought it was good, so... Honestly, if you like moon-based stuff, you might like Artemis. I don't know. But if you hated The Martian, then I don't necessarily want to outright recommend that to you. Anyway, sorry. Outside of small regions we'll get to shortly, the moon is also dry. There is some water bound up in the lunar surface, but then, if we want to be technical, which we do, there's water bound up in concrete. In fact, going by the latest estimates, concrete is comparatively moist. We did a back-of-the-envelope calculation and estimated you'd need to cook all the water out of 6 tons of lunar soil to get 3 kilograms of water you need daily to survive, not including cleaning, showering, and the occasional water balloon fight. However, we were told by lunar surface expert Robert Wagner of Arizona State University that looks like you're using some of the wetter materials. So that's not a great sign. The moon also lacks a radiation-thwarting planet-wide magnetosphere, nor does it have a thick blanket of atmosphere, which is handy when you want to breathe. It's also handy because it provides protection against radiation and meteors. The lack of protection also affects the ground itself. Earth's surface has wind and water and the general sloshy squishiness of a living world. The moon's surface is the result of billions of unhealed wounds, violent impacts from space objects large and small. The heat of these strikes fuses the surface while shattering what came before, and this fuse and shatter routine happens over and over for eons. Add to this the regular fracturing that comes with extreme heat followed by extreme cold, and the result is that the moon is coated in regolith. From the Greek roots meaning blanket of rock, nasty little jagged bits of stone and glass. So, that dirt you're baking your 3 kilograms of water out of, it's not exactly easy to work with. Harrison Schmitt of Apollo 17 reported allergy-like symptoms arising from inhaled moon dust. Oh god! Do I need to do more research on Apollo 17? Like, how did you end up inhaling moon dust? That sounds very bad! Some habitat researchers fear that too much inhaled regolith over a long enough period will result in something like silicosis, also known as stone grinder's disease. Yeah, so, yeah, the moon version of black lung, not good. Esme, yeah, if we wanted to make Luna more like Earth, we need to bring shit tons of ice to it, yes. And Begla says, damn, imagining the bloating of a fused cervix. Yeah! No! No! Probably from coming in with your suit on. Yeah, I mean, I guess, because, yeah, you'd have to take the suit off and then you would be, yeah, no, you're right, that makes sense. But regardless, the prospect of inhaling any moon dust at all sounds horrifying to me. I would like to not die. Okay, so also these little shards, small ones can be 1% as thick as a human hair. So I mean, like this diagram isn't really telling you anything. Just, you know. Anyway, something like silicosis, also known as stone grinder's disease, in which repeated microscopic lung scarification makes breathing extremely difficult. It's not good for the equipment either. As John Young said during Apollo 16, Houston, this dust is just like an abrasive. Anytime you rub something, you can no longer read it. And that's what's happened to our RCUs and every piece of gear we've got. In other words, it's a mistake to rub something to clean it off. Very much so. Regolith is a constant nuisance that shouldn't be underestimated. The lunar surface is electrically charged, meaning it clings like fresh laundry. This is directly bad for machinery, but it also causes temperature dysregulation. Everyone knows black is the most awesome color for a spacesuit, but you never see one because white is the color that reflects sunlight. This is important because sunbeams reach the lunar surface without the mitigating influence of air. But the static cling of regolith means suits that don't get cleaned slowly take on the dark plastery gray color of the moon, making them absorb more heat. Once the coating is thick enough, it can also act as an insulator, which can cause a totally new problem. Equipment that needs to radiate heat from human bodies cannot. Humans haven't been on the moon long enough for this sort of thing to be a big problem, though it has made life annoying. Robots have had it worse. It's thought that the Soviet lunar rover, Lunokhod 2, Moonwalker 2, eventually died after it acquired a heat-retaining patina of regolith, ultimately cooking it until it couldn't function. Yes, do not rub. If there is regolith on your arm, do not rub. But also you can't, like, blow it off because you got a fucking spacesuit on. So, yeah, I don't even know what the good solution to that is, but I'm sure that there is a way. On the plus side, you'll come to really appreciate lunar sunrise, mostly because it arrives just once every 2 weeks. Lunar nights are Earth fortnights, 2 weeks light, 2 weeks dark. Combine this with a lack of oceans and atmosphere to moderate climate, and you get regular equatorial temperature swings from minus 130 C to positive 120 C, with temperatures as low as minus 250 C recorded in a crater on the South Pole. That's bad for equipment, bad for humans, and 2 weeks of darkness is decidedly undesirable if you're trying to generate solar power, which you probably will be. Is there a positive trade-off for all this? Historically, people have been willing to endure all sorts of hardships in exchange for a return on investment or eternal fame. Eternal fame is a substance with diminishing returns, so here we'll focus on commodities. Moon dirt fetches a pretty high price if you can get it back home, but in a future where spacefaring becomes common, gifting your sweetie a vial of glass and stone dust will lose a bit of its romance. If we're talking about local minerals that you might refine and ship back to Earth for a profit, the moon harbors nothing worth getting. The economics of spacefaring are changing, but in order to be exportable for the foreseeable future, any goods mined in space for sale on Earth need to be high value, low mass, and fairly easy to acquire. Nothing on the moon matches this description. You may have heard otherwise. Okay. Now it's time for the helium-3 rant, everybody. Get ready. So, oh, for fuck's sakes, why is this thing like this? Sorry. Really big fans. It took me a second to interpret what you meant by that, but I get it now. But yes. Okay. Helium-3 rant time, baby, let's go! Nothing on the moon matches this description. You may have heard otherwise. A surprisingly large number of books that discuss moon settlements mention something called helium-3, a valuable helium isotope. We have been forbidden by our editors to go on a 10-page rant about helium isotope economics in a pop science book, but if you want to see a nerd hyperventilate, buy us a beer and ask us about it, which I really want to do. In short, helium-3 is more common on the moon than Earth, yes, but still extremely diffuse. We're talking parts per billion. One estimate suggests it takes 150 tons of regolith to produce a single gram of helium-3. In other words, you likely have to process square kilometers of the lunar surface to get a decent amount. What's it good for? In a single sentence, it's good for a small set of medical applications and for a futuristic type of fusion reactor, which would work great, except we can't build it yet, and almost nobody is trying to build it, because it's far harder to make it work than more typical kinds of fusion reactor we also can't build, and which use a far cheaper, more plentiful fuel, and anyway, helium-3 is a byproduct we already make with a well-known nuclear power source called heavy water reactor. There! We'll stop now, because we're getting spittle on the screen. And the footnote to that is, if you would like to join us in being a nerd hyperventilating over moon isotopes, we recommend the recent paper Garrett Bruhag and William Phillips, Nuclear Fuel Resources on the Moon, a broad analysis of future lunar nuclear fuel utilization, which sounds like a really dense read that I might have to get into at some point. So yeah, helium-3 not as viable as initially expected. So that's the moon. Hotter than a desert, colder than Antarctica, airless, irradiated by space, lacking in carbon, and with no minerals valuable enough to sell back home. It's not obviously gold rush territory. Oh, and what are the long-term health effects of living in 1/6 Earth gravity while inhaling glass? Your guess is as good as ours. I missed a piece at the end of this page. The case for the moon. But you should see the location! Other than the sun, which is hard to land on, the moon is the only place in the solar system that stays put with respect to Earth. Our cosmic roommate remains just about 385,000 kilometers away perpetually. And there's this little diagram that's pointing at the moon that says, practically next door! The moon is a cosmic day trip. Easy access, easy escape. That means astronauts can receive fresh resupplies on a regular basis. It means signals only take about 1 second each way, allowing nearly live communication in case of emergencies. It means construction equipment can be remotely operated from Earth, no fancy autonomous robots required. The moon is also an excellent place for rocket launches. From an energy perspective, the hard part of spacefaring isn't traveling a long distance, but getting off-planet in the first place. On a trip to Mars, most of the propellant you will ever use gets burned up reaching a stable orbit above Earth. Once orbital, a relatively modest use of propellant will sling you elsewhere. You can imagine space as a sort of giant air hockey board with deep wells pitted in its surface. Once you're out of the well, or spinning on its rim, it's pretty easy to get where you're going as long as you have the time to get there. Earth is a deep gravity well. The moon, much less so. Throw in the fact that the moon hasn't got a pesky atmosphere to slow down launches, and you've got a great platform for throwing things into space, at least compared to Earth. You could plausibly even set up a mass driver, basically a roller coaster to space with no rocket required, something nearly impossible on Earth, which, by the way, the concept of mass drivers is super, super interesting. It's not complicated, it's basically literally just a roller coaster, just but imagine a slingshot, you're the Rock. Not quite, but very close. Actually, I mean, I guess it could be set up that way. Oh, look at the baby. Look at the sleepy child. See, I'm trying not to go into full baby cat voice because I think she knows when I do that and sometimes it wakes her up. So they have a description, or yes, here. I'll explain this diagram a little bit first. Based on a figure in Marilyn Dudley Flores and Thomas Gargell's Manufactured on the Moon, Made on Mars, Sustainment for the Earth Beyond Earth, whatever, it's a paper. So there's just an illustration of the gravity wells. The height represents how much energy is needed to leave, and the moon is pointed at, saying much easier to launch from the moon, except for the part where you have to build rockets on a surface that is constantly trying to kill you. And then there is an image of a mass driver. Magnetic pulses speed up the vehicle. No propellant required for launch. Then a bunch of arrows pointing to no stupid atmosphere, and a little spacecraft with the caption of "Wee." So that is, oh, I hit the mic, but yes. But yeah, mass drivers are neat. Is yes, cool. To be clear, setting up a launch facility on the moon would be very hard. A lot of your mass will have to be expensively sourced from Earth, especially at first, but at least in principle, some construction materials can be generated lunar locally. The moon's surface is high in silicon, aluminum, magnesium, iron, and titanium. Silicon has all sorts of applications, from windows to photovoltaic solar panels. Aluminum, iron, and titanium are all excellent building materials. Magnesium is easy to work with due to its low melting temperature, though it has the downside of reacting explosively with oxygen, a popular gas among humans. But note, you should be a little nervous when you hear geeks like us saying you can build something because the requisite elements are present. Noting that you can make photovoltaics from metals and silicon is kind of like noting that you can build an airplane because the dirt below your lawn contains aluminum, iron, and carbon. Focusing on elements can disguise some serious complexity. Working with titanium, for instance, requires tremendously high temperatures and specialized furnaces. The silicon needed for solar panels begins life as jagged dust or compressed stone. Trying to work with lunar iron is kind of like trying to build steel beams from a pile of rust. It's literally possible, but very hard, and it's worth noting that people never talk about Earth resources this way. You never hear anyone say, "We should mine for copper here because there's literally any amount of copper here." The moral of the story, beware of nerds ticking off lists of mineral content unless they also happen to be carrying a futuristic limitless energy supply, perhaps involving helium-3. Although there are some useful materials on the moon, settlement prospects are fairly bleak pretty much anywhere on the lunar surface, but not everywhere. The moon has a few tantalizing locations worth considering for settlement. These are what we'll call the moon's premium real estate. Of special interest are 3 lunar features: lava tubes, peaks of eternal light, and craters of eternal darkness. Esme is asking, are mass drivers potentially useful as weapons?
Yes.
Yeah, like in theory, yes.
They do go into it a bit later in the book as well.
Oh,
this is very much a possibility that can happen.
Well, right, because yes, we are also talking about the, if you send people into space, what happens if they decide to fling an asteroid at Earth? Yeah. Yes. So yes, in that context, it very much is. You could yeet something at Earth with a mass driver or whatever. So yeah, like in terms of like a precise weapon, probably not really. But yeah, it really depends on what your goal is. And unfortunately, a lot of the things that are useful or necessary for space settlement could also be weaponized in some way or another. And yeah, like Boyfriend just very quietly said in the background, they do talk about that at a certain point. Spacecraft versus spacecraft, I don't think mass drivers would be super useful for that. Because like the way that it works, I feel like you'd have to use orbital mechanics. Good old Char's counterattack. Honestly, half of UC. What is UC? I feel like I should know what that is. I might even, but I don't. There's too many acronyms in this world. But yeah, so like I think you'd have to use orbital mechanics to fling something at someone with a mass driver. And if they're in a spacecraft, even if you fling it directly at where they are going to be on an orbital path, they could move. It is significantly harder to move a planet. So, yeah, like you could definitely fling something at a settlement on Mars with a mass driver, but I don't think it would really be too much of a threat in terms of spacecraft to spacecraft or whatever. Yeah, the planet movers, yeah. So, that's a complicated discussion that I don't necessarily have the requisite information to give you a good answer on, but that is my impression, so. Elaine, in Babylon 5, mass drivers were the taboo weapon, the one that was pretty much considered a war crime. Yeah, I could see that. Oh, The Planet Movers is a novel that I could read on stream. I'm also... I'm trying to decide whether I should read Legends and Lattes on stream, but I also don't want to wait until I finish this one to read it in the first place, so we'll see. I could just read it twice.
You just have to dedicate, like, all of your streaming sessions to finishing this book and then switch it over.
It's nothing but reading for the next 2 months. Which could be fun, but also probably not that fun. For me, at least. But yeah, there are a lot of books that we could read on stream, and I'm not opposed to it, but it's definitely a task. Okay, I think we can finish this chapter tonight. There's not too much of it left, and that's a good place to stop. But yes, we are looking lava tubes, peaks of eternal light, and craters of eternal darkness. Even if you read on stream every day, you'd still show up. Aw, thank you. I appreciate that. The moon's upper crust. There is a footnote after the craters of eternal darkness. Technically, today's term of art is permanently shadowed regions, and not all of them are craters, but we're sticking with the pretty language, which, I mean, yes, craters of eternal darkness is good. UC, aka Universal Century, is the first universe of Gundam, and it involves a lot of hurling incredibly large things at Earth. Fair. I have another example that I could use in that regard, but it would be a spoiler for this one, so I'm not going to. But yes, Craters of Eternal Darkness, way cooler, and yes, Bankos, if it is a Gundam reference, you are always going to have to explain it to me, and you are welcome to, but I know nothing aside from what you have told me. So, the moon's upper crust. Lava tubes are a particular type of cave, also found on Earth and Mars. They form in various ways, but a common one goes something like this. As lava flows, its outer layer cools and hardens, similar to how the top of a river turns to ice when it's cold enough. This crust acts sort of like a thermos, keeping the lava inside nice and hot and flowing. Eventually, when all that molten stone has gone on its merry way, the crust stays behind as the roof of an enormous cave with high-arched ceilings, almost like an underground cathedral. And there's a diagram. Lava flows, roof forms over top as it cools, up to hundreds of meters across. Lava has gone on its merry way, leaving a tube behind. Later, robots arrive. Beep, beep. Note, this is one of several processes that can create lava tubes. For all the gritty geological details, see Sorrow et al., Lava Tubes on Earth, Moon, and Mars, a review on their size and morphology revealed by Comparative Planetology, Earth Science Reviews, 209-2020. So, tubes. The moon no longer produces lava flows, but it once did. And, thanks to the moon's low gravity, some of these tubes reach titanically alien proportions, perhaps more than 10 times larger than anything comparable on Earth, enclosing over 1 billion cubic meters of space. Substantially roomier than the ISS's 388 cubic meters. Weirdest of all, recent evidence suggests that at least in some cases, lunar caves may have temperatures that are reliably Earth-like in the range of 17 degrees C. We'll talk about habitat design in part 3, but for now understand that these caves may provide a pre-built hole in the ground with protection against radiation, micrometeorite impacts, and wild temperature swings, while also allowing early settlers to leapfrog past many of the difficult first steps of inhabiting the moon. The fact that they are, like 17 degrees inside the surface of the moon, that is not, that does not have plate tectonics, that is not, what's the term? For, like, volcanically active, but not volcanic. Like, tectonic activity is part of it, but that's, like, the actual movement of the surface. I don't remember what the term is when you've still got a molten core. No, not dormant. The opposite of dormant. I don't know. I'm not sure. Whatever. There is no molten core. It's not active either. And I'm not looking for something that's specifically referring to the molten interior of a planet. But whatever. And it might just be plate tectonics in this case, but I think there's another word in there somewhere. It's like right on the edge of my brain. I know if it's not dormant, it's active, Esme. I get that. I'm talking about a specific scientific term for that piece of geology. But it doesn't matter. I mean, it kind of does. I want to figure it out, but it's fine. It's fine. We won't think about it. Yeah. Honestly, they might even say it at some point. But yeah, when there's no core heating it up from below, I don't get that. But anyway, that's the point. There are a few potential catches here. Lava tubes will be difficult to access safely due to their sheer size. Moonwalking is hard enough without having to moon spelunk. More important, we just don't know that much about them, and their stability remains a hard-to-assess question. Scientists are working on models to try and determine features that make for stable tubes, but Wagner informs us that the strongest evidence for lunar lava tube size, and indeed presence, is observations of collapsed segments. That's not the most reassuring information imaginable, but recent work demonstrates that there are at least some pits around today that are found in photos from the Apollo era. And also, these things are really, really old, and some of them haven't caved in yet. We wouldn't phrase it that way if we were selling lava tubes on Zillow, but if a cave is substantially older than life on Earth, it can probably expect to stick around a little longer. And then there are the peaks of eternal light and craters of eternal darkness. This sounds like the description of a 16-year-old's emotional states, but in fact it's a business opportunity, and perhaps one day a source of geopolitical tension. As we said earlier, the moon gets 2 weeks of light and 2 weeks of darkness. However, just like on Earth, at the poles, the day-night cycles get weird. Starting in the early 19th century, scientists speculated that if you had a celestial body at the proper angle to the sun, parts of it will get perpetual sunlight. Of particular interest were peaks atop the lunar poles, which appeared to be permanently graced by sunlight. As a coreless planet is a theoretical planet, has no metallic core. Coreless planets are effectively giant rocky mantles and can form in cooler regions and far from the star. Also, not exactly what I was thinking of. Like, I'm not thinking of a coreless planet, but one that has solidified. But that is still interesting that is apparently theoretically possible. Obviously not observed, but still interesting information, so thank you. Hang on a second. Apparently, the most recent lava flow on the moon occurred about 1 billion years ago, which is fascinating. Yeah, it's that quick Google search is also not yielding the desired effects. It might literally just be volcanically active that I'm trying to think of, but I don't think that it is. Whatever. It really doesn't matter. It super, super doesn't matter. But anyway, Earth is tilted at 23.5 degrees with respect to the sun, so we get seasons. The moon is only tilted 1.5 degrees with respect to the sun, so some peaks are almost perpetually lit up. Recent data confirm that this is nearly the case. They're called the peaks of eternal light, but peaks of pretty much eternal light would be more accurate. In particular, parts of the rims of the North Pole's Peary crater and the South Pole's Shackleton crater are illuminated more than 80% of the time. This is tempting stuff for Spomsteaders. First, if you're using solar power, you can get energy on a consistent basis instead of dealing with 2-week-long stretches of night. Second, because you're perpetually grazed by light rather than alternately blasted and deprived, you can get a less volatile and more mellow temperature. Well, mellow for the moon. For example, a ridge between the Shackleton and the de Gerlach craters has an average summer temperature that hovers around -70°C, which is merely about 10°C colder than the average temperature in Antarctica, in the interior, in the winter. Not exactly Cancun, but the view is nice. Then there are the craters of eternal darkness, which are also at the poles and which are substantially more inviting than their name suggests. Because light hits the poles at such a sharp angle, you get craters where part of their interior has never seen the light of day. This is easy to visualize if you imagine a giant coffee mug sitting at the North Pole. The rim of the cup and part of the interior will be lit, but as long as the cup is deep enough, there are regions where light will never penetrate. Perpetual darkness, which means perpetual cold. So yeah, you could have eternal light up here and eternal darkness down here, basically. Why do you want permanently cold domains of shadow? Because thanks to their extremely low temperature, some of them appear to have held onto water ice. Neither rover nor human have visited these sites, so they are imperfectly characterized. But the water in them likely comes from sources like comets that crashed into the moon and possibly long ago lunar volcanism. And see, like, that's the thing, is they're saying volcanism, so maybe that is what I'm looking for. And yes, the moon is in fact tidally locked. That is correct. And a planet that is tidally locked to its sun is less good. Less good. It's still not necessarily uninhabitable, but only that really limits the amount of the planet that you can settle. Anyway, this water would have moved around the lunar surface, in some cases for millennia, before finding itself trapped inside these exceptionally cold regions. There it remained, confined in darkness for eons, crystalline and mysterious, until a Blue Origin spacecraft landed nearby and Jeff Bezos needed a fill-up for his hot tub. Step 1, comets hit moon. Step 2, H2O, cold trap. Step 3, fill her up, boys. This way. That's that one. I can't angle this well, sorry. Mind you, he won't have an easy time. At these temperatures, ice is more like stone than the stuff in your freezer. It also contains other compounds like methane, hydrogen sulfide, and ammonia. These are potentially valuable chemicals, but are also toxic and will have to be separated out before anyone takes a drink. Some of these chemicals contain precious carbon, but sadly, even after harvesting the Apollo poo bags, your combined carbon total won't be nearly enough to start the farm. Still, if you can get a base on one of these craters with their combination of perpetual darkness and almost perpetual light, you've got solar power and water. That means almost everything in space. See, your friend H2O is the jack of all space trades. You can drink it, you can crack it into oxygen and hydrogen, and then use the oxygen for air, and in the right forms, hydrogen and oxygen can be reacted back together for rocket propellant or fuel cells. As long as you have a lot of energy, water means survival, mobility, escape, and if there's a market for moon-based rocket propellant, it may one day mean business. H2O, great for thirst. O2, absolute favorite gas to breathe. H2 plus O2, fuel cells or rocket propellant. Esme, there's at least one planet in the Starfinder RPG that has settled a tidally locked planet. Yeah, like, it's definitely possible. It's just that, like, basically the area of the terminus where the light side switches to the dark side and that little tiny space where it transitions is called the terminus, which maybe you already knew. I don't know. And that is, like, generally the only place that you can settle on a tidally locked planet because the temperatures are way too extreme elsewhere. And, like, there are exceptions to that. It's a little more complex than that, but that is generally how it is. And I think that's interesting. And it definitely doesn't disqualify such planets, but yeah. You said that 2 comments up? Oh, yes. Sorry, you did. Yes. The terminus, literally just the strip where light and darkness meet, is yes. That is yes. Thank you. Apologies for missing your comment, but yeah, we're on the same page on that one. So yeah, you can settle there. It's just, yeah, you have a lot more limited options. And sometimes the weather can get really extreme just because of the differences in temperatures, right? Which is also not always true, but generally. The main downside of the moon's premium real estate is that, if it proves genuinely valuable, we might fight over it. The legal regime governing these places is vague, and you'll learn about it later, but the major issue we want to raise here is that if these resources are finite and small, the if doesn't belong there, taken together using optimistic numbers, the craters of eternal darkness only make up 0.1% of the lunar surface. They also don't have that much water, perhaps as much as 100 million tons. That sounds like a lot, but it's about the weight of 1/10 of a cubic kilometer of water. So the total amount of water hidden in eternal darkness may be roughly the equivalent to 10% of the volume of Sardis Lake. You know, Sardis Lake? A man-made lake in Mississippi? We hadn't heard of it either, but it looks nice. Featuring fish and breathable air. Eternal darkness may be roughly equivalent to 10% of the volume of Sardis Lake. That's I already said that. Anyway, but it looks nice. They have baths. There's a whole restaurant. And it has one other advantage over water-laden moon craters. It gets replenished over time periods shorter than eons. If the water is mostly used as part of a human habitat and you've got very good at recycling, it can go a long way. If the water is used for rocket fuel, once the burn is over, it's gone. And the peaks? By one estimate, they're 1/100 billionth of the lunar surface. Doing a little math, that's less than 2 tennis courts. Jesus Christ, that's nothing. You can spread out farther if you raise your solar panels up on platforms, or if you're willing to take even less perpetual light, but the point is that where the moon itself has an area a bit larger than 2 Russias put together, the especially good parts cover substantially less ground than Liechtenstein. If there ever is a scramble for moonland, these will be the places we scramble for. Yeah, let's not have colonial wars over lunar real estate. Yeah, that would be nice if we could avoid that. It's fucking 10:50 already. Yeah, okay, we got like a page left. We could do this. Who wants to settle the moon? Almost nobody wants to settle the moon as an end in itself, because most of its value is positional, and because it lacks the resources to sustain life, the moon is mainly enticing as a stepping stone elsewhere. This gives us at least 2 reasons to set up facilities on the moon. First, we could use it as a sort of giant spaceport. Earth is nice, especially on weekends, but it's hard to launch here. If we can get just the right setup, the moon is the ideal place to gas up old spacecraft or launch new ones. As space visionary craft Eric, spelled in a very Slavic, probably German way, reportedly said, if God wanted man to become a spacefaring species, he would have given man a moon. The second reason to settle the moon is practice. Before permanent outposts in Antarctica were built, human beings had been trekking in Antarctica for over 50 years. That success was in part possible due to knowledge gained from people who'd lived at the far north for thousands of years. We don't have anything like this level of working knowledge for the moon. We barely even have veteran moon travelers. The 12 Apollo moonwalkers spent a grand total of less than a month on the moon, and as of this writing, only 4 of them are still alive. For all its deficiencies, the moon is close, which spares us a lot of the logistical complexities of a trip anywhere else. The moon is a place to master all of the problems we've described above. Low-gravity medicine, countermeasures for long-term mental health issues in space, dust mitigation, robotic construction, baby construction, and 1,000 other issues, some of which haven't even been anticipated yet. A place to paddle a canoe before we set out on the sea. This appears to also be the view of large space agencies and launch corporations. As NASA's International 2020 Artemis plan for returning humans to the moon says, the sooner we get to the moon, the sooner we get American astronauts to Mars. China is also targeting a human lunar landing for the 2030s and is teaming up with Russia to do it. Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin is interested in Shackleton's crater's water, sunlight, and minerals. Fuck you, Bezos, get out of here. Elon Musk wants to settle the moon, so do Nazis. Get your ass to Mars. I mean, you're not wrong, but so does NASA, and not Nazis, but also apparently Jeff Bezos. So yeah, all over not great on terms of the territorial wars front, from the sounds of it. NASA is teaming up with SpaceX in the hope that their Starship can take astronauts to the moon, and SpaceX also has a private contract to send tourists on a lunar orbit vacation. One day, if the moon is settled enough to have large manufacturing operations, it may become a lot easier to explore or even settle other parts of space. Because it is far easier to launch from the moon than from Earth, creating propellant or rocket parts on the moon could in principle be far cheaper than boosting them from Earth. But all of these things are second-order considerations. The moon is probably only valuable for settlement if somewhere else is even more valuable. If humanity decides, either with public or private spending, that sending humans deep into space is worthwhile, the utility of the moon may justify a full-on settlement. But while this possibility is compelling to many space enthusiasts, most of them see the moon not as the goal, but as a stopover en route to somewhere better. And usually, the better location they're talking about is Mars. Astrid and company haven't yet made up their minds, so we're just going to give them a travel brochure to hold on to as we consider the most important alternative, which is Mars. And so there's Astrid's little space family here. There's an illustration. But think of all the ways it isn't trying to kill you, which she's holding the moon brochure. So there. Sure. Anyway, that is the end of the chapter about the moon. At the moment, at least. So, we did it! We ended in an actual chapter. We finished our half a chapter from last time and a whole nother chapter this time. Yay! So sorry for this kind of weird ass stream, but it ended up normal-ish towards the end. Here's a baby, looking baby, and also annoyed with me. Hi. Oh, baby. That was cute. She chat with me. She baby. Yeah, chin rubs. Yeah. Who's a baby? Oh, sleepy girl. Yeah. But yeah, lots more room to do back over here. All sorts of stuff going on. Don't know how much of that'll get done this week, but regardless, there will be more art and hopefully eventually shelves for like stuffed animals and space Lego and shit. But yeah, thank you guys for being here. Again, sorry it was weird. I do not know if we have anyone live to raid right now. Aha! Tango is still playing Mass Effect. Perfect. Let us harass them. I do not know how long Tango is going to stay live. They've been up for like 3 hours, so we'll see. But yes. As may maybe LEDs on the outside of the poster frame. Maybe. No promises, but it would be rad. I will absolutely give you that. I'm gonna set up this raid to give myself a time limit. Yeah, thank you guys for being here. Let's go say hi to Tango. They are playing Mass Effect. I don't know if they've played Mass Effect before. I think it might be a replay. But regardless, we will be back for more Cult of the Lamb tomorrow because that's what I want to do with my life. So, yep. And, yeah. Love y'all. Thanks for bullying me with squats and snacks. Good night to the baby girl. And, yeah. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye. I hit my elbow on the desk. Ow.